Welcome in, S0ner Sports Radio Podcast, episode number 8. We have got the topics for you. We are going over Week 7 in college football. We'll preview Week 8. We got our Heisman updates to go over, and we'll visit the S0ner Sportsbook. Is TCU the Big 12 favorite for the college football playoff, and is Syracuse got a chance this weekend at all? And Tennessee also top of the SEC, and then we'll get into our locks of the weekend, NBA talk to wrap it up this Friday afternoon. Joining us right now on the Ballscaped hotline is Cole Murphy, straight from the Murphy household. Cole, how are we doing this afternoon?
We're doing good, man. Feeling good.
Feeling good in the neighborhood. Just a fantastic week of football over the weekend. Tons of stuff to go over as we jump right into it. Let's hit up Week 7 results and some notables over the weekend. Cole, some big games happening. Let's touch base with the one everybody's talking about, Tennessee and Alabama. Tennessee gets the win 52-49 on a last-second field goal after Alabama misses theirs. What are your takeaways from the game in Knoxville?
Man, that was a great game. Two really good competitors, obviously. Tennessee ended up pulling it out, which I didn't expect at all. So shout out to the Tennessee Volunteers there. They're looking really good. I think it was a great game overall, though. Alabama, I mean, they still played a good game. Just a few plays didn't go their way. Obviously, to miss that kick at the end, so that definitely hurts. So looking like Tennessee might be in the playoff there in the SEC.
Yeah, lots of good things to say. You even put Hooker on your Heisman list that you updated swiftly after the games concluded on Saturday. Yeah. You were quick with hitting me up with that. We tweeted that out on the S0ner Sports Podcast Twitter page, so make sure you check us out on Twitter as well and get all the updates and content that you need revolving everything going around the podcast world, revolving around us. So that was one of the big games. Another big one over the weekend was USC losing to Utah 43-42. The Utes go for 2 and get it. And Caleb Williams had 30 seconds to try to salvage a field goal attempt for the Trojans and couldn't get it done. Good defense for Utah. Is USC just done now? Like, what are your thoughts on the Trojans?
I see the Trojans rebounding, actually. I think also just a few players could have gone their way. They would have won as well. So close loss. I just don't think they came ready for that game, even though Utah isn't a slouch. I just don't think USC was ready to play that day. Still a great game. Came down to last few plays, even with Caleb Williams having a little bit of time still to come back. But obviously Utah got it done there. So it was a great game. Utah's looking sharp for sure. I just don't think you can count USC just out yet. I think they're still going to finish out the season strong and have a good bowl game at the end.
Yeah, so maybe done for the college football playoff, though, or what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they've got a shot at that 4 spot still, or is that just out the window at this point?
I wouldn't say it's out the window. I mean, they still have a few games. If they win out and then, of course, win the Pac-12 and then have a couple things go their way, I think they still have a shot to be in the conversation at the end. So I think it's just all about taking care of business for the rest of the season for them. They just need to close it out, win by a big margin for the rest of their game, and win that Pac-12. So, and they should have a chance. So I wouldn't count them out.
Yeah, I think they got a decent chance. I mean, they still have to play UCLA. I think that's probably the hardest game they've got left on their schedule. Because I mean, this was it up to this point. We thought Oregon State gave them a good game, and they did. I mean, we thought Washington State was going to give them a run. They had a chance. So I mean, it just kind of seemed like we were on the teetering point for USC. It was like they're close to blowing it, They just need to play a team that's competent and can get the job
Yeah,
done offensively. And here comes Kyle Whittingham and Utah at home, and they get the Trojans slipping and going for two really ballsy balls on the table for Kyle Whittingham.
great call there for
Yeah,
sure.
great call. Having your best player run that in. Cameron Rising finishing with 415 passing yards to go alongside all those touchdowns he had against the Trojans. That defense is a problem. For USC, it's an Achilles heel. So, but that's not anything new if you've been following Lincoln Riley's anywhere he goes career. So I mean that's
Yeah,
been the thing, and we thought maybe Utah was going to show up, maybe not. They've been kind of spotty ever since they lost to Florida. It's like, which Utah team are we going to get? Are we going to get Ohio State bowl game Utah? Or are we going to get Florida Gators Utah, where they just couldn't score at all? So I think that game was definitely entertaining and has definitely shaken up the college football playoff race. Moving on down the line, TCU beats Oklahoma State 43-40 in double overtime. The Horned Frogs get it done and beat, at the time, the number 8 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. What was your takeaway from this victory for the Horned Frogs at home?
very surprising, honestly, that Oklahoma State didn't pull that out. I mean, with them leading pretty much the whole game and having control that whole game, I'm surprised that Oklahoma State didn't close that out. I mean, TCU, great program, and definitely played a great game as well. But I mean, you just got to close that out if you're Oklahoma State. I still think this is going to be the Big 12 championship game there with TCU and Oklahoma State. But great job to the Horned Frogs and getting it done. I think they're definitely be the top of the Big 12 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're at the top right now. Um, Obviously, as you said, like, you're thinking this could be a rematch of the Big 12 championship game. You think these
Yeah,
teams are probably going to win out and meet again down there in Dallas. So I mean, I could see that happening, and I think Oklahoma State would once again probably be leading heading into the fourth quarter. It was just really weird to see them up 30-16 and blow that a lead. It was weird how
yeah,
conservative they got. Only 34 yards of offense in that fourth quarter for the Cowboys. Really disappointing. Casey Dunn was calling a good game up to that point, and it just seemed like the wheels fell off the wagon. I just don't know what happened. It was just like they were dominating, like you said, this game from the first quarter to that point. And Max Duggan goes out for a
yeah.
series. Chandler Morris comes in and they score a touchdown with him quarterbacking. Then Duggan comes back in and plays the rest of the game in overtime. It was just a little stinger injury. It wasn't anything big, but it took him out for at least 2 or 3 game minutes, it seemed like. So I mean, this game kind of had it all. And for TCU, like you said, this is a monumental win for them. I mean, they're at the top of the Big 12. They are standalone, the best team record-wise and just perception-wise of most of the talking heads in college football. I mean, they think that TCU's like for real or something. And they've got a big game against Kansas State this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up a little more. Let's move on down the list. Syracuse beats North Carolina State 24-9 to stay undefeated heading into this week's game against Clemson. Of course, NC State playing most of that game without Devin Leary. He is out for the rest of the season with a torn pectoral that he suffered early on in that game. So Syracuse kind of got lucky with having to play the backup quarterback for NC State. What was your takeaway from this game? I mean, Orangemen undefeated. Let's go, right?
Hey, go Orange, man. I guess.
What are you
I
saying?
just
I,
think
I can't I can't hear you, man. What are you
maybe they'll
saying?
get it done. But with their backup, are you good? No, I was saying the Orange man. I had no faith in those guys. But good for them, getting it done. Just and good advantage for them as well. I mean, hey, is it true? I don't know. I guess we'll find out this week. Uh, I just don't think they're. I would say they're frauds, but I just don't think they are those. I don't think they are those guys that are gonna get it done there. But it should be a good little season for them rest of the season.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that. Because it sounded like you were muffled as hell. So what
Oh
were you
yeah,
saying?
can you hear me now on it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. No, I was saying Syracuse. I had no faith in those guys going into that game. Obviously, I just didn't think they were able to get it done. But I mean, obviously, hey, they're looking good. So with their backup being in NC State, that does that give them an advantage. But I mean, hey, they still got the job done. So we'll see if if they are frauds against Clemson, I believe they had this week. So we should see there.
Yeah, it'll definitely be the test of that because and we'll talk more about that in the next segment. Moving on down the list, Kentucky beats Mississippi State 27-17. So the lower team, the 22 ranked at the time, Kentucky beats number 16 Mississippi State. So that was kind of a big win for Kentucky. I think they swapped places kind of in the top 25. We'll know when we get into next week's games whether or not I'm right about that. But I think I'm right because I think Mississippi State is 21 now, and Kentucky's probably like 17 or 18. So I mean, kind of switching places. Mississippi State's got Alabama this weekend, so we'll see if Mike Leach can drum up some more offense because 17 points is not going to be enough to beat the Crimson Tide. But Kentucky gets it done. They're kind of back on track. Will Levis back under center for the Wildcats with 230 yards passing. So seems like the Wildcats are back on track. Are they back to being a threat?
I wouldn't say a threat necessarily. They're going to be, of course, a better team in the SEC, but I mean, I don't see them getting anywhere past any of those upper ranked teams with Bama and Georgia. But they'll still have probably a good rest of the season. But yeah, they're not going to be in discussion at the end of the year. I don't think so.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but I think no one wants to play them. I'll give you that. I don't think.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they're still formidable, but like you said, I don't know if they're a threat to win the SEC or even their side of it. But I mean, I think they've got a chance to beat a couple good teams. Another big win for an unranked team. Oklahoma beats Kansas 52-42. If you liked points, this was the game, Mr. Murphy. If you like points, big win for Oklahoma, turning things around, undefeated the rest of the season. Your thoughts?
I have a lot to say on this game, specifically just because, OU and just Kansas, but I mean, I don't give OU a lot of credit for this game. I mean, hey, they're at home. Kansas is backup then. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback, but it's not their starter. They don't have their starting quarterback in. I mean, good for OU. I mean, I hope they do pick it up for the rest of the season. I just don't give them a lot of credit for this game. Having Kansas come in off of a loss, having Kansas's backup in, I mean, I don't give them a lot of credit. I mean, good for OU. They haven't won many games, but we are talking about Kansas here. Even though they are better this season, their backup quarterback was still in the game. So not a lot of credit to OU there. Good win. But Kansas, I mean, I'm not really sure the status of their starting quarterback, but they need that guy back. They need him back ASAP. He's definitely was the guy for their team, helping them win these games thus far this season. So hopefully he
Yeah,
gets back out there soon.
yeah. If he does, it'll be the bowl game. He's out for the rest of the season with that
Geez,
shoulder injury. So it's rough for the Jayhawks going
All right,
forward.
Jayhawks. I was pulling for y'all.
Yeah, the wheels of the offense didn't fall off because 42 points is still a lot for your backup quarterback to be churning out. So and we knew the backup wasn't bad. It's just he's not Jayden Daniels, and I think that was the problem. And Dylan Gabriel looked like Dylan Gabriel, 403 yards. But the real story was Eric Gray, 176 yards on the ground for Eric Gray, best game of the season so far for Eric. If they continue to run like that, I don't see them losing to a lot of teams left on the schedule. Maybe Oklahoma State, but as far as playing the rest of these teams, Baylor maybe. I feel like OU and Baylor are kind of on the same page right now as far as they've got good teams together. Things just haven't fallen their way, and maybe they just weren't as good as we thought they were heading into the season with what they had on these rosters. So I mean, I don't feel like that game is gonna be a blowout for Baylor. I don't see them winning that game by like 20 plus. So I think OU's in a good spot right here. But I wouldn't say that I mean, they're gonna go bowling. I think OU is gonna make a bowl game this season. So that's probably news for a lot of OU fans that think, oh, there's no effing way they're winning 4 games or 5 games or whatever. They're gonna be 1 game short. A lot of people think, but I think this team is a lot. I think this helps them a lot. Moving forward confidence-wise, and we'll see how that reflects on the field, not this week, but the week after.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the top-heavy portion of this. Not really a lot of other games that really mattered around the country. You had James Madison, the number 25 ranked team in the country lose to Georgia Southern 45-38. So, I mean, I guess tough for James Madison, but I was never really on the bandwagon of that. Michigan blows out Penn State 41-17.
Yeah.
That was kind of a shocker, I think, because it was just kind of like we thought Penn State's offense was a little better than what they showed on Saturday, and Michigan just ran the ball really well. Lots of long runs for the Michigan backs. So I think that offensive line for Michigan is for real. And then Ole Miss took care of Auburn by 14. They're still looking pretty good. But that was pretty much it. I mean, this weekend was really focused around that Alabama-Tennessee game, as it should be, and as it ended up being one of the best game of the weekend, probably. Oklahoma State had that entertaining game with TCU, but other than that, I think ranked teams kind of did what they were supposed to do, and it was kind of mundane a little bit besides those two games. As far as ranked teams go, I'm sure there were a lot of games between unranked teams that were, close and entertaining. But as far as nationally televised, big TV number games, that was kind of it for last week. So that's kind of your Week 7 wrap. Let's head into Week 8 here. We got games going on tomorrow. We are excited. We are ready. Big weekend. Big stuff going on, Cole. Let's talk about the first one that's going to kick off in the afternoon. You got Syracuse and Clemson. Let's talk about it. Syracuse undefeated, Clemson undefeated. This is at Clemson, so Syracuse is traveling. Any chance that Syracuse comes away with the dub here, or are we just thinking Clemson's going to smack them around?
Yeah, I got Clemson all the way here. I don't think they're going to blow them out. I don't think Syracuse is going to come in there and really just get beat up or anything. I think they're going to play a decent game, but I got Clemson definitely winning here by at least 2 touchdowns, so 14 plus 14, I guess.
Okay, I mean, I like it. So the line actually for this game is Clemson minus 14. So very good for you, Colmer. For you did no research and you have the line right on the money with Clemson favored by 14. So good guess for you. You also have Baylor playing Kansas. Now, Kansas is unranked now. Probably deservedly so considering the situation. Baylor also unranked, but like I said, very talented. Who you got in this game? Even though they're unranked, it's a Big 12 matchup that means something for both of these teams.
Where's this game at? Is
this game is in Waco.
Or?
Yeah, it's in Waco.
I'll give Baylor the nod here. I mean, I don't think Kansas has fallen off. I just think that travel for them, plus Baylor's defense is pretty solid. I don't think that they're going to get the number 2 beat Baylor. I think Baylor's offense is going to get rolling and probably put up a few good touchdowns. And I still think that Kansas will be able to crawl back. But I see it being closer. Definitely not a blowout here either. But definitely Baylor by plus 7.
Baylor by a touchdown, and the line for that one is Baylor minus 10. So they think Baylor's got a little bit more of an edge on this game than what we think. And I mean, Vegas is not wrong a lot of the times, but it's wrong sometimes, and this might be one of those times. I like Kansas here. I like Kansas rebounding. I think that offense is good enough to hang with the Bears. And for the Bears, that is the question. Can your offense score against Kansas's defense? OU's offense did, but we know OU's offense, they have the skill position players to be able to make plays. Does Baylor have those same type of skill position players? It's kind of touch and go. Shapen's not a bad quarterback. I just think that Baylor's kind of in a rough spot right now. Dave Aranda's defense is playing decent, but is it good enough to stop being in this Kansas offense? I don't know. I like the Jayhawks here to at least lose by single digits if they do lose, but I like them to win here. I think they need to get back on a winning track, and if they can do that this weekend, then they'll be looking pretty good. And I think it'll be a wake-up call that Baylor needs to be a little bit better in the recruiting front. But that's just my take on an unranked game happening all over the weekend that a lot of people probably are going to be watching, even though neither of these teams have any chance of making the college football playoff. Moving forward, you have Ole Miss, the number 7 team in the nation, playing an unranked LSU team at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. Any chance LSU can pull off the win here against the Rebels?
I don't think so. They're just not having a very good season, and their defense is not really holding much. I mean, they're not the worst defense out there, but I think Ole Miss offense is too good for too much for them to handle. So yeah, I definitely got Ole Miss winning here by 10.5 on
Ole
the line.
Miss,
That's what I think.
Ole Miss by 10 is what he thinks, and let's see what they say. They say the line on that game is, oh, you're gonna love this. LSU is favored by 1.5 points. LSU
No way.
-1. LSU
No
-1 is
way.
the line. I'm not
It's not
shitting
gonna
you.
happen. I'm
So,
sorry,
so,
Tiger
and,
fans.
and listen. Here's LSU's season so far. So they lost by 1 point to Florida State in Week 1 due to a missed PAT. We saw that. The
Yeah.
next week they beat Southern 65-17. They beat Mississippi State 31-16, and they beat New Mexico 38-0. They beat Auburn 21-17. But they lost to Tennessee 40-13. But considering how good Tennessee is, I'm not really disappointed in that result. And then they beat Florida last week by 10, 45-35 in the Swamp. So I mean, is LSU garbage? No. Should they be favored? Oof.
They're
This
mid.
line is wild to me. I don't know what the hell Vegas is on, but
Yeah.
there has got to be a lot of money on LSU's side of this, because for them to be favored by 1.5 points going in to this weekend, I don't know if I'd even touch this bet if Vegas thinks this game is going to be this close, because everything in my heart tells me Rebels all the way. But here's the thing about Ole Miss, and I think that we kind of forget that their season hasn't been super impressive. So listen to this and tell me what you think now. They beat Troy 28-10 week 1. They beat Central Arkansas 59-3. Georgia Tech 42-0. They only beat Tulsa by 8, 35-27. They beat Kentucky by 3, 22-19. They beat Vanderbilt 52-28 and beat Auburn 48-34. So tell me this, who has Ole Miss played for me to think that LSU doesn't have a chance here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean,
Not they
I
haven't
mean,
played. I
the
mean,
more you
a
look at
lot of
these, the more
competition.
you look
Yep.
at these two schedules, Cole, the more they look kind of similar here.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's
Yeah.
what Vegas is going off of. Is, yes, Ole Miss is ranked 7. They haven't lost a game since the season started, and they were ranked in the middle of the pack in like the teens when this season started. So they were already in a good position if they could get to this point undefeated, right? LSU also
Yeah.
ranked, but ranked in the 20s, right? Not really ranked, after, obviously not ranked after that Florida State loss. Kind of climbed back in the rankings and then fell off again. So I mean, these two teams, they kind of have identical journeys right here. Only Ole Miss hasn't lost to anybody they've played because they haven't really played anybody. You could say Kentucky. You can say Kentucky. Give them Kentucky. But if you give them Kentucky, at least give LSU Florida. Because if Florida can beat Utah and you go by the transitive property bullshit, then I
Yeah.
mean, this game should be a 1.5 points. Should it be favoring LSU? No, I think it should be a 1.5 points, at least favoring Ole Miss, right? I mean, a number 7 team losing
Yeah.
in Baton Rouge to an unranked LSU team seems unfathomable, considering just the turmoil going on down there in Baton Rouge. I say turmoil, but you've only got 2 losses. So it's
Yeah.
not terrible. And one of them's a 1 point loss on a missed PAT that should have smelled overtime, and the other one is a loss to a Tennessee team that might be the best team in the country right now. So I don't know if LSU really is
Yeah.
garbage. Do we know anything? This has got to be the game where we figure out if Ole Miss is for real. And apparently, according to Vegas, they believe that too. So interesting line, interesting situation there. I guess we'll keep our tabs on that one for sure. Another 2:30 kickoff. This one is where College Game Day is this week. Number 9 UCLA and is at number 10 Oregon. The Ducks hosting UCLA. The Ducks have beaten UCLA every time that they have played UCLA at home. So that's good. As far as the last 10 something years, it was some weird stat. I saw it on Twitter. I can't remember the graphic exactly, but we've had good luck in Autzen. What do you think about this game, and do you think the Ducks can get it done against the Bruins at home?
This is exciting. Or what is this, a pick 'em here, or what? What's the line here?
Oregon is favored by 6.
by 6. Okay. I do like that they're home. Oh, this is hard, man. It's hard to go either way on this one. I feel like your Ducks definitely would, and being at home, and they've had couple good past games. I definitely could see them getting the win, but I'm gonna go. Oh, this is tough. I want to go with your Ducks here.
I mean,
I got to.
and the more I look at this game, the more I think it's primed for UCLA to get blown out here. Um,
Yeah,
UCLA's had a good season, but you got to remember they almost lost to Southern Alabama. I mean UCLA.
yeah,
I mean, as bad as Oregon's loss is to Georgia, I mean, and it was bad. I mean, if you lose anybody by
yeah.
46 points, it's not pretty. Uh, but it's
I think
like,
it's gonna be a very close game for sure.
I mean, look, 6 points might be a little generous. I mean, I could see us winning by a field goal late in this game, but I mean, I'd like Oregon as well to pull it off, just due to the history, and I think Bo Nix is playing a lot better. Do I trust him consistently to perform great? No, but I mean, it's Chip Kelly. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of emotions when it comes to this game, as far as I'm concerned. I'm definitely not choosing this to be part of our sportsbook picks. I'm staying away from this game for emotional
Yeah,
reasons.
same.
Um, but I think it'll be a fun game to watch, and I'll definitely be watching it before I go into work on Saturday. Um, Another 2:30 kick. This is the one that is shocking when it comes to the line for Oklahoma State fans. They are hosting Texas. This game is in Stillwater, and Oklahoma State's a 6.5-point dog to the Longhorns. First time they haven't been favored in a home game in like 6 seasons or something like that. Something crazy. Where normally Oklahoma State's got that home field advantage, but right now they're almost a touchdown underdog here to the Horns. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think this is gonna be a shootout. I really do. I think this is gonna be not really necessarily high scoring. I could see it going in mid, but I think this is going to come down to the last play. I think both teams are definitely Oklahoma State has had a great season so far, and then I think they're going to rebound as well. But Texas is not going to be any slouch here in this game. I think they're starting to pick up their pieces as well. So, what's the line? 6-6
Yeah, six and a
for
half point
the
favorite.
Cowboys.
Texas is
I
a
like
six and a
that.
half.
I like that.
Yeah, Texas is a 6.5 point favorite.
It's so hard because I want to. Yeah, I like this, but I like OSU uh, coming down close and winning this one. So I guess OSU plus 6.
Yeah, that would be your guess. Yeah, I look, I like Oklahoma State here as well. I don't think they should have lost to TCU. I think it's one of those losses where you just kind of look at the last like few years of Oklahoma State football. They've always got one where they just don't get the job done. I mean, it used to be Iowa State
Yeah.
all the fucking time. I guess this year it's TCU because I look, and I watched the Horned Frogs play the Sooners. I did that game for S0ner Sports Radio on the weekends on Twitch. Make sure you follow there as well. And it was, it was impressive, but I was more shocked about how bad OU's defense was. It wasn't like, oh, TCU's really, impressing me. But with this win against Oklahoma State, it was like, man, TCU, like, they just didn't give up and just kept doing what they do. And I think OSU just kind of fell back and got on their heels and kind of just lost this game more than TCU won the game. You also have to go back to overtime, in that second overtime where OSU was forced to kick a field goal, and TCU just goes right down and punches it in. It just it was, this game is just giving me, like you said, kind of shootout vibes. It's giving me a game that's going to come down to that last possession and who's got the football, or turnovers in general.
Yeah, I can see this going either way.
Yeah, so I mean, this is just a full slate of tough games to pick when it comes to the spread this weekend. Let's move on to the next game on the list. This one is at 6 o'clock Central, 7 Eastern. It's number 24 Mississippi State at number 6 Alabama. Alabama coming off of that loss against Tennessee. They are number 6 in the country right now, and as of right now, out of the college football playoff picture. Mississippi State just lost over the weekend to Kentucky. Like I said, I thought they switched places, but Mississippi State actually falls 2 spots lower to 24. And I mean, what do you give Mike Leach and the Fighting Leaches a chance here? or is this just going to be one of those things where we're saying once again, you better not play Alabama after a loss because they'll come out and rip your head off?
Yeah, I think Alabama's coming for blood. I think they're going to rebound this week. I think Alabama's definitely going to win by a nice little margin here. I could see a 35-6 or 14 or 41-14. I think Alabama's definitely going to come in and rebound this game and show the nation really that they're still going to have a chance at the end of the year. I think they're definitely going to come and score a lot of points, and their defense is going to play great as well. I know Alabama, the whole football team, and Nick Saban, he's got everybody fired up, and I know he is very disappointed. And I know a lot of those Alabama guys probably want their cars back after that loss to Tennessee.
Yeah, I can't agree more about that. I mean, look, I have Alabama winning this game too. I think Mississippi State's about to get their dick pushed in. I just don't see any chance for Mississippi State, especially on the road in an environment like that. I mean, Will Rogers is a good quarterback for the Bulldogs, but he's not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't think they can hang, man. I just don't think they can hang, especially after losing to Kentucky back when. I mean, look, I get Kentucky got their starting quarterback back, but it's just like I just can't. I don't trust the Bulldogs. I got Alabama all the way. The spread in this game
same.
might shock you. It might not shock you. Vegas has this game as Alabama as a 21-point favorite here. So they
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
think this is just prime for the slaughtering. Is where the Bulldogs are right now. Moving on to the last game we're going to talk about for this week. It's Kansas State at TCU, number
Ooh, I
17
like
at
this one.
number 8. This game is at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, so a night game for this. TCU favored by only 3.5 points here. What are your thoughts on the Wildcats? We got a chance here to see TCU fall a week after beating Oklahoma State, make this thing even more interesting.
I like this one. This is a great game this week. Definitely two powerhouse schools right now in the Big 12 going head to head here. So this should be a good game. I actually definitely do see TCU winning this for sure. I'm not sure by how much, but definitely TCU 10.5. And it's is who's home here?
It is at TCU. It's in Fort Worth, so they have
Okay,
active. They
yeah,
have.
I like TCU 10.5 point favorites here. My opinion. But I definitely think Kansas State is gonna come fighting, come swinging.
So you like TCU by 10. You like them by an extra
Yeah,
touchdown. All right. I mean I could see it. I think the big question mark is how well is Adrian Martinez going to play. If he plays really
yeah,
well, Kansas State's going to have a chance. And they can put up points. We've also seen them not put up points. But I think Iowa State's defense is actually pretty good. That is just like their offense is terrible. So I think that kind of had something to do with it, with how low, with them only scoring like 16 points in that game, only beating uh, the Cyclones by 2. So I mean, we've seen both sides of Kansas State's offense. We just need the better one to show up this weekend to give us a real good game. TCU can run away with this. Quentin Johnson, that wide receiver for them, is so good. He proved that against Oklahoma State last weekend. Max Duggan is on one. He is playing out of his mind right now. So if Kansas State's defense can show up here and kind of shut down this TCU offense, I think that that'll give Adrian Martinez and Kansas State kind of that momentum they need to kind of maybe carry the offense a little bit more with a little bit more fluidity. So, so that kind of wraps up week 8. So you know what that means. That means it's time for the Stoner Sportsbook Recap, your favorite segment of the week. And then we'll get into our Heisman picks here in just a moment. So let's go over the picks over the weekend. We didn't do too bad. We both went 4-2. You picked Alabama to cover that 8.5 against Tennessee. That didn't happen. And we both picked North Carolina State to beat Syracuse. And without Devin Leary, Syracuse got the win by 15. So we were both extremely wrong on that, but didn't account for NC State losing their starting quarterback. And I was wrong about Penn State coming in to Ann Arbor and dethroning the top 5 team in the nation. So I went 4-2 as well. That puts our collective records right now at 20 and 14 for you, and 23 and 11 for me. So still making money with the S0ner Sportsbook here on the S0ner Sports Radio podcast, as Cole is 6 games above 500, and I am 12 games above 500. So you're making a little more money with me, but you're still not losing money with Cole Murphy. and he's got his picks here on a special recorded message for you for week 8. Let's go down the board. Let's start off with the 11 o'clock matchup, Syracuse and Clemson for pick number 1. This one, you hit right on the nose with your assessment of what this line would be, and it is Clemson favored in this one by 14. So money-wise here, as we go over this, I have it right in front of me here. So considering the money you put on Bama, which was $50, and then you put $50 on NC State as well, you lost $100. So you're still at $300 for this week. So that's good with that $100 stipending that we get through the sportsbook due to their promotion here on this lovely podcast. Now, the big thing for me is I was playing with a lot of money last week. I had $6,000 to play with, and I lost $1,000 with Penn State, and I lost $2,000 with NC State. So I lost $3,000. So I'm sitting there at 3,000. Well, technically $4,089. So that's what I've got to play with this week with my $100 that I got back. So I got a little bit more money, but not a lot of money here. I want to say we got that game 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gotta pick a 5th game. Let's do the Kansas Baylor game as the 5th game. So we'll do Kansas and Baylor. But let's go ahead with the Syracuse Clemson. You got Syracuse and Clemson. Are you taking Clemson? How much money are we putting on that one?
50 all the way down.
50 all the way down. Okay, so we're just doing 50 all the way down here for all of these. But you're picking Clemson.
I'm gonna cash out this week.
Yeah, he says okay. So he's got Clemson minus 14. It's 50 all the way down. Kansas. Well, okay, I got to do mine too, don't I? Okay, so I'm taking. Look, listen to me, people. Listen real close. All right. Syracuse isn't losing this ball game, boys. Wow. I am picking the Orangemen. I know that I failed everybody with Penn State last weekend, but I am picking them plus 14. I'm putting $500 on it. I think that's a decent chunk of this $4,000 to put on the Orangemen. But I am ready. I am ready. Syracuse is no longer just a basketball school. I am ready to say it, and I think that these guys will be fired up to win this ball game, and I think Syracuse really has a chance here to make something happen spectacularly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I'm picking the Orangemen plus 14. Hey, if they lose by 10, I still get my money, okay? So let's not keep that in mind. So if if they can just keep it within 10, we're good. But I am picking them straight up to win this personally by a last-second field goal, give them the win. I do think that they will be helped along the way by either injury or a lot of turnovers. So if neither of those happen, Syracuse could lose by like 10. But I think that a lot of people are underestimating how low scoring this game's probably going to be. I think this game's going to be in the 20s. I don't think this game is going to get outside the 30-point range here. I think both of these offenses are kind of mid. Clemson only put 30 points on NC State. I know that, Syracuse only put 24 on them. So you're thinking, well, maybe Clemson is only a touchdown better than Syracuse. And that's what I'm betting on here, is either a Syracuse loss by 7 or less, or Syracuse. I'm rooting for Syracuse to win straight up, and I'm picking them to win straight up. But betting-wise, I'm just picking them to cover the plus 14 on that one. Second game, we're going to do Kansas and Baylor. Baylor on this game is a 10-point favorite. Who you picking on this one?
I like Baylor, but plus 7. I guess, instead of 10.
So you're picking Kansas plus the 10. Got it.
Yeah.
So Kansas plus 10. You think Baylor wins by a touchdown, and the Kansas State Jayhawks lose another, but they do cover. Um, you know, I like Kansas plus the 10 too here. I think they might even win this game. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put 500 on that one as well. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here now, but next game on the list here, Oklahoma State and Texas. Texas is a 6.5 point favorite here. Who we got here?
Man, this is tough. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma State. I just think they're the better team here, and I like them plus 6.
All right, so plus 6, got $50 on that one as well. You're gonna have, yeah. So let's move on to the next one here. We have next biggest game on table is Alabama and Mississippi State. Alabama favored by 21. Where are you going with this one?
Definitely Alabama all the way here. I'd like them to plus 21.
Mississippi State versus Bama minus that. I like Alabama as well. Minus 21. I'm gonna put 500 on that one as well. I am picking Oklahoma State to cover as well. And I'm putting $2,000 on that. I'm putting all my
Wow.
I'm putting most of my chips on the Cowboys this weekend. I think they cover. Last game of the night, TCU and Kansas State. That's the last one we're going to entertain. We already went over this. TCU minus 3.5. Where we feel this is going.
Yeah, I like TCU here.
TCU minus 3.5. All right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. Definitely. Think that quarterback Martinez has a great game. I just don't think they end up getting it done, but I can see it definitely going TCU for sure.
All right, so I've got $589, and I'm gonna put that on the Kansas State Wildcats. I just think Adrian Martinez plays up to competition and down to competition. I think this is one of those moments where Adrian Martinez rises up and gets the job done for Kansas State, and I think that defense for Kansas State is gonna shine. So watch out for the Big 12 to get messy. We're gonna have a lot of one-loss teams in this thing. And it's going to be a little bit of a hot potato to see who is going to be in that game at the end of the year. And I think this adds to the animosity. So there are your picks, ladies and gentlemen, for the S0ner Sportsbook. Let's hop into Heisman list update. I already have yours, but are you wanting to make any adjustments to it? I know you've got Hooker at 2 and CJ at 1 now, correct?
CJ Stroud 1, Hooker 2, 3 as well. 3 Bama.
Bryce
Bryce Young.
Got it.
And who Spencer Sanders 4, and then who's my 5? Phil Williams. I'm gonna throw a little curveball in this one.
Let me see I forgot what the 5th one was.
A little piggyback off earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas won. This is still sitting on my mind for some reason, but I wouldn't be surprised if Texas won. But I think OSU is going to win by like 6 or 3 or 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Hey, if the Longhorns win, I'm not surprised because they're playing a lot better.
Yeah, I think with Quinn Ewers in there, it's a lot tougher to go against it. You know, I think it makes it tough. Oklahoma State for sure.
Because I could see UCLA winning as well as beating your Ducks. I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA won, but I see your Ducks winning by a little bit there as well.
Yeah, so you had Sanders and then Williams topping it off. Is that still what you want to go with?
I want to drop, and he's going to be at number 6 for me, but I'm throwing a little curveball. I like Max Duggan at my 4 slot and Sanders at my 5,
Okay,
and then
okay,
Caleb at 6. Yeah,
okay. So,
he's undefeated. He's playing great, and especially a big win this week, which I think he's going to get. I definitely got him moving up past because I mean he's undefeated and he's leading his team. So I like Duggan
okay, yeah,
moving to
yeah. I can, I can,
3
I can see that.
or 4. Sorry,
Yeah, no, you're good. I
and
can see
Sanders
that.
at 5.
Definitely going on. I had CJ at 1, Bryce Young at 2, Spencer Sanders at 3, Sam Hartman at 4, and Caleb Williams at 5. So obviously I have some changes to make here. Um, look, I still like CJ at 1 here. It's hard for me to pick against a guy that's doing everything he's supposed to do. So I'm gonna put CJ at
And
1.
winning, and
Yeah,
he's won.
and I think Hooker at 2 is a good spot. I like Young at 3 right now as well. Um, so I had Sam Hartman at 4 last week. I had Spencer Sanders at 3. Spencer Sanders is, like you said, off my list at 6 as well. Um, at my 4 spot though, um, I, I don't know, man. Boy, um, I'm gonna go with Blake Corum, uh, the Michigan running back. I think he's been fantastic.
Okay,
So
fair
he's
enough.
at my number 4
Yeah,
spot. And at my number 5 spot, I'll keep Hartman on there. They continue to win. He continues to play well. Um, I mean, he might not get invited to New York, but I think he's a solid candidate for the job. I think that loss against Clemson really hurt his chances. But Wake Forest has been playing good. Um, you know, um, from that point to now, so I can't really say anything bad about the Demon Deacons as of right now. So that's kind of where that stands as far as our Heisman list goes. So let's talk about a little bit of the topics that we have circled for this episode. TCU. Let's talk about him a little bit more in depth. You bring up Max Duggan as he's number 4 on your Heisman list now. Is TCU right now the Big 12's best chance at the college football playoff, or is it still Oklahoma State?
it's a great question. I think they do look the best right now. I think just overall as a team, especially they keep winning week in and week out, and they're looking sharp as well. Like just this past week, I mean, it was a great game. So I mean, TCU, uh, I think is the favorite for the playoff. I just don't see them putting TCU in, even if uh, unless they win all the way out. That's the only way I feel like they get in discussion, and they could even not even put them in after that. So that would be tough. I still think for TCU to get in, just because the Big 12 really gets no love come playoff time. So I think they are a great team. I would rather see OSU in the playoffs if it came down to it. Say everybody's 11-1, or OSU wins the Big 12, and then it comes down to it. But I mean, I think TCU would be a really good team to have in there from the Big 12. I don't see them beating Alabama or Georgia or even Ohio State. Those are my other 3 teams I think will be in it. I don't see them beating any other teams, but I, Oklahoma State with their defense, and definitely Spencer Sanders, how he's running that offense, could upset a big team like that. So I would like to say I would like OSU, if it came down to it, to be in the playoff. But I think TCU, just based off how their team is playing right now, and then of course their record, I think at the end of the season that will be the big topic: who's going to win that Big 12, and can they get into the college football playoff if they do win the Big 12? So it should be a good rest of the season for the Big 12, and hopefully they make it in.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question. Really, is the Big 12 going to be left out? Besides
Yeah.
this game against Kansas State this week, really the only chances that TCU really has to lose, I think, are Texas Tech, Texas, and Baylor, and those games happen 3
Yeah.
weeks in succession, leading into their into their homecoming game against Iowa State. So, I mean, could they lose in the next 5 weeks? Yeah, I think it's probably inevitable. I think Texas gets them. Texas Tech may not
Mm,
get them, but Texas has a good chance with the way they're
yeah,
playing. And especially if Texas beats Oklahoma State this weekend, it would be really hard for me not to see them knocking off the Horned Frogs 2 weeks from this week. So I mean, I'm kind of with you though. I think TCU is if they win out, I think obviously you have to put them in the conversation, especially if they beat Oklahoma State again in the Big 12
yeah,
title game. I think it would just be very unlikely that they would not find their way in. But I think that, not believing in TCU to this point, not pushing them up into that upper echelon and keeping them at 8 right now is safe, because when they lose this weekend against Kansas State, or when they lose against Texas, I mean, because I think it's just going to happen. I just think
when they
TCU.
when they
I
lose,
just
when they lose, yeah.
I just think
Hey,
TCU.
one thing about sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
One thing
good.
about TCU, they're gonna score. Like you know that for sure. They're gonna score. They have the offense. The offense is there. Like the play calls are great. So TCU is gonna score. So I mean, I know you are saying they are gonna lose, but I mean, in all these games that you think they're going to lose, they're gonna score. So I mean, it's not. And if they do lose, it's gonna come down to a field goal, or maybe just an insane play here at the end. But I mean, one thing you have to give credit to ECU this season, they're scoring the ball, and I think they're leading the offense in the Big 12. So I mean, they're going to score. That's one thing you have to know about ECU.
Yeah, I can see that. Look, you win against Kansas 38-31. You beat Oklahoma State 43-40. I mean, those are. I
Yeah,
mean, that's 80 something points that you've put up in the last
yeah,
2 weeks. That's impressive. But you look on the other side of that. You allowed 42. You allowed 31. So, like you said, you're scoring a lot, but your defense is allowing a shit ton of offense to
yeah.
happen. And that
The
and that's
defense
what
is
and
not that
that's what
good.
scares me is as much as TCU in recent memory has been, oh, defense first, then we'll see if we can score kind of team. The roles have been
Yeah,
reversed now, and it's more like we can score, but can our defense consistently stop somebody from scoring? And they proved that in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma State, but I really think that was more of Oklahoma State's offensive coordinator shitting the bed than it was TCU's
yeah,
defense kind of rising up and turning that game around. So I think that there's a lot of false hope in TCU's clutch time defense and just defense in general. I think it's very shaky. And you allow
yeah. The
31
defense is
points to
mid.
Kansas. I mean, that's tough, because that most of that game again was backup quarterback time, because Jaden Daniels got hurt in that first half against TCU, and that's why a lot of
Yeah,
people think Kansas lost that game to begin with. So people think TCU should have lost 2 weeks ago, and they sure as hell thought they were losing going into the fourth quarter last week. So I don't know how much faith even the experts have in TCU. Granted, they are the number 8 team in the country, because of the fact that these games that they're winning against these good teams, which Oklahoma State is a good team, but Kansas with their backup quarterback is decent, but they're not great. They put up 42 against OU, but
yeah,
what does that mean? I mean, OU's defense is trash. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kansas can score the football too. The Big 12 teams in general are scoring the fucking football. It's just whether or not any of these defenses can fucking show up. So I just give Kansas
yeah,
State a better chance of their defense showing up this weekend,
yeah.
or Texas just a better chance of outscoring TCU if Quinn Ewers plays and that team is healthy. I think that with Bijan Robinson, Quinn Ewers, and Xavier Worthy for Texas, I think that just tees up TCU to just get their face blown off. And I think that game is in Austin, so that's even worse of a problem for them. If they get it done this week, that's the next one. But I just think Kansas State has something about them when they play top 10 teams that they just show up. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, you can use
Yeah.
OU as an example the last 4 years. I know Skylar Thompson isn't back there taking the snap, but Adrian Martinez is a better football player than Skylar Thompson, and Skylar Thompson started for the Miami Dolphins over the weekend. And,
Yeah.
and and that's why my lock of the week of Minnesota went through so easily, is because I didn't have Tua back there to worry about. But I didn't know that. But I mean, that helped, obviously. So, when you talk about Kansas
Yeah.
State, it comes down to quarterback play and whether their offense can score. And as far as TCU's defense is concerned, they've allowed a lot of teams to score, so they might allow Kansas State to score. And like you said, if it comes down to the last second, so far TCU's come out on top. When does the luck run out? I think it's this weekend. If not, give me Texas. I think TCU right now is the best chance for the Big 12, but I don't think that'll last very long, and I think it'll flip back to Oklahoma State if they win this weekend against Texas. So a lot of this is hinging on this week, but I think this week will really give us a true path of who is legit and who is not. Yeah, I agree, disagree.
I like your prediction. I think TCU is going to lose one, whether it be close or the luck runs out or whatever. So I like your prediction there. I think they're going to have one loss, but they're still going to be in that Big 12 championship at the end of the year if they do have that one loss. So OSU or TCU, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the big question is,
maybe Texas.
the big question is, will that Big 12 championship produce a college football playoff contender, or will it just produce like, a really good bowl game contender? That I think is also up to just how everything else shakes up around them. And let's dive back into this because I can't get enough of this. So Syracuse, undefeated,
the Orangemen,
masters of the unbeaten. Syracuse, they're traveling to Clemson. They've put up some decent amount of points. They've escaped with some wins against some teams that aren't very good. Clemson has been kind of off and on. They've beat teams when they've been ranked, but then we found out that those teams are kind of not as good as those rankings were heading into that weekend. They beat NC State by 10. NC State ends up not being very good. I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of quarterback play against Syracuse last week, but I think that they haven't really been helping themselves out a ton. You look at Clemson playing Wake Forest. Wake Forest has consistently continued to win. I mean, they're 13th in the country right now. But I think that having that game come down to overtime and Wake Forest losing that game at home, that was the most impressive win Clemson has had. But be honest with me, what percentage chance do you give Clemson to lose this? I mean, or Syracuse to win this game? Because I mean, I think it's a lot higher than a lot of people think. But then again, I could just be reading into the fact that they just haven't lost.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very high percentage, but I mean, they could get it done. I just don't. I haven't seen them a lot this season, but I just
give me a number. Give me a number. What percentage?
You have a number? I think a 40% chance they get the upset.
See,
maybe the 40% chance they get the upset.
I thought you were going to go so much lower than that. I thought you were going to hit me with like a 30 or a 25. I mean, because I think a lot of people are in that kind of realm. But 40, I think, is realistic because of the fact the offense is not terrible. Syracuse's offense is not bad. It's just I haven't
seen a lot of them, and Clemson's defense is just not that good this season. They let a lot of points come in and had that close. I think it came to OT against Wake Forest.
Yep.
So I mean, I could definitely see Clemson having a bad game. I just see Dabo Swinney and their offense scoring enough to take care of Syracuse. So I don't really see an upset there. I think Clemson's rolling a little bit better offensive wise than they were to start the season. So and I also just haven't seen enough of Syracuse to be like, oh, this is it. This is the week they do it. If anything, you're gonna think I sound crazy here, but I think Notre Dame is gonna be the team who upsets Clemson if there's an upset there in the ACC. So I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and Notre Dame has been kind of spotty too, but thing is you can never really count them out, can you? I mean, they kind of even if they lose to like a Marshall or they lose to somebody terrible, it's like the next week people are still like, well, they could do it.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, I give them probably the same, a 40% chance, but I think that's a really high chance for them.
You give them more. You picked them, right?
I picked them to win.
Hey, you gotta give them 100% chance for the upset.
But like realistically though, like I'm 100% on it. Like I think they're gonna pull it off. But I think that if you go into this like analytically and you go just by the numbers, 40% is pretty good. For on the road against a top-ranked team, I think giving them that chance opens that door a lot wider, and that's why I think they're going to win. But I think that in general, people are thinking 40%, whatever. And let me give you now you're going to find this hilarious. Let me give you the ESPN percentage chance that they are giving.
Syracuse to win.
Yeah, they're giving Syracuse a 16% chance to win. 16%. And I mean, I don't know, man. Let's just, listen to this and tell me if 16% sounds insulting, because I think 16% is insulting, and let me tell you why. One, both of these teams are averaging over 35 points a game. Syracuse is averaging 36. Clemson is averaging 38. So that's why I think this game is gonna, be kind of close. Now, guess how many points Syracuse has allowed defensively all year so far?
How much is that?
13.2 points a game is what their
Oh,
defense is
okay.
allowing. Clemson is allowing about 20 points, 19.7. Total yards, though, Syracuse is giving away so many yards, 432 a game. Clemson isn't far behind them, though, 417 a game. So as you go down these numbers, you're like, oh, fuck. I mean, these teams might actually be just a tad closer, but strength of schedule is all the way in favor of Clemson. All the way right here. I can't
Yeah.
deny that at all. But let's keep going. Yards passing, 244 a game for Syracuse, 247 for Clemson. Clemson just a little better, right? Yards rushing, 188 for Syracuse. Clemson only 170. Syracuse takes the lead in yards per game there. And that's why overall they lead the yards per game by 15. Yards allowed. Syracuse not allowing anything, 268 yards. Clemson allowing 338. So a big difference there. And the problem for Clemson is the passing game, which is good because Syracuse is still averaging 240 a game, and Clemson's allowing 250 per game. So sling that ball around, find your open guys, you got a chance. Rushing yards allowed, Syracuse only allowing 95, but Clemson really clamps down on the rushing. They only allow 80 a game. And for a team like Syracuse, who averages 188, if they can get anywhere close to that number, they're winning this football game. So after I tell you those numbers, is 16% insulting? I mean, yes,
A little
no.
bit, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, again, you're looking at a team right now that hasn't really beat anybody. When you look at
Yeah.
Syracuse and who they've been putting these numbers up against, the toughest one you can look at is NC State, and I don't know, that defense was on the field so long
Yeah.
for.
At Syracuse here, this is what you want. This is as a player and as a coach, this is what you want to see though. These are things you pull for motivation. So I mean, I think this is in favor of Syracuse here. I mean, you want to have that be the line there. You want to have your defensive guys see that. So I mean, that just gets them a lot more fired up and ready to play. So I mean, uh, I don't think a little insulting, but I mean, you as Syracuse, you want to be insulted here. I don't think you want to be favorited here or even projected an upset. I think you want to come in as an underdog and have people think that you're going to beat because I mean that's when Clemson's going to slip up and might lose here like you are projecting. So I could see it, but I just think it's a low percent chance here.
Yeah, I mean, I think 40% is a huge increase from 16%.
Yeah,
And considering that, I mean, look, you beat Purdue, Virginia, and NC State as your 3 wins for Syracuse, and Purdue and Virginia are trash. I get Virginia won last night against a really bad Georgia Tech team, but I mean, it's just like you're not really playing the cream of the crop, right? And with Clemson, it's like, yeah, you've been playing well, but like you said, having Clemson maybe think, oh, we're just gonna roll over these guys, might be in Syracuse's best interest. So I mean, yeah, the more we talk about this, the more I'm feeling better about picking this because I liked it just because, I think that every week there's going to be something that's going to shock us. Last week, I think it was Tennessee and TCU getting it done late was kind of the shocker there. Utah getting it done was definitely a shocker. And I think this could be Syracuse could be Utah this week. This could be a 43-42 game, but I don't think it will be. I think this game's going to stay in the 20s. Maybe a team gets to 30, but if it does, I'm thinking like 30-28 or 30-27. Like it's going to be close because these teams stat-wise are
yeah,
so identical. And yeah, you've played some teams that aren't so great if you're Syracuse, and if you're Clemson, you're not really looking much better. I mean, you're really not. You're not looking
yeah,
much better. And when you look at Clemson's schedule, the key win is Wake Forest right now. That is their key win. That's the one they're hanging their hat on right now and saying that's what validates us. Because beating NC State by 10 doesn't mean anything when Syracuse beats them by 15. Now I get that NC State had all their starters, but I mean, if you're going by just in general, that doesn't impress me. You only beat Florida State last week by 6. I picked Florida State
Yeah.
to cover that game. They covered it. And the reason they did is because Florida State is not terrible. That's what I'm saying. Syracuse is not terrible. But when you look at Wake Forest and NC State being your 2 wins for Clemson that are like, yeah, these are our wins. Tell me what the difference is between grouping Purdue, Virginia, and NC State in with NC State and Wake Forest. I mean, if you combine Virginia and Purdue for Syracuse and you give them that as like one game and you compare that to Wake Forest in general, I don't know. This game, I don't know. This game's crazy. I don't know. 14 points seems like nuts to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Clemson's
Yeah.
definitely
I know,
got
I know.
more. I mean, Clemson's got the Jimmies and Joes, so that's they've got the 5-star guys. They've got the talent, right? That's the big
Yeah.
difference here. And if the talent is that vast of a gap, then we'll see it, and it won't matter. But I'm giving the Orangemen a chance. I don't fucking know.
He wants the Orangemen to win here.
Yeah, I'm rooting hard for them, and I think that this is their best chance that they've had to beat Clemson in a long time. Let's move on to the last 2 things we're going to do. Tennessee winning the SEC. Let's talk about it. They get the win against Alabama. It was a big win for them, huge win for the school, huge win for the fan base. If Tennessee's season ended right here, a lot of fans would be happy, even without a national title. I mean, are they? I mean, the favorite in your mind to win the SEC, even if the odds say no?
This is tough. I mean, they still have Georgia on the schedule, so I mean, and the part I don't like about it is they're playing a team that most people that watch football don't even know about this upcoming weekend. So I'm like, uh, I don't know. I don't know how that ended up being on the schedule, but I mean, they still have Georgia. And I mean, they're, I mean, in being a part of that football team, like they're definitely uh, getting cocky at this point. I mean, they just beat Bama, so I mean, it's tough to say. I just don't like. I mean, their adrenaline's high, and I mean, Tennessee, they could do it, but I think they lose to Georgia, um, and after that loss to Georgia, I mean, it's going to come down to the committee at that point. So I mean, I guess we'll see if they do win out, though. I mean, definitely. I mean, they definitely are top of the SEC for sure.
Yeah, I mean, right now, betting odds, Georgia the favorite, minus 115. Alabama plus 140 is number 2, and then Tennessee comes in at plus 650. So a lot of people think, yeah, Tennessee's probably going to drop one. And if they don't, then that's obviously their best chance. But right
Yeah.
now that seems to be the consensus is they have the 3rd best odds even after beating Alabama, because of the odds of them getting back into a position where they could, do what they need to do. Yeah, I think that that's kind of the conversation. I think that pretty much wraps up what people think at this point. And are they the favorite? No. In my mind, could they do it? Yes, but they're gonna need some help, and they're gonna have to beat Georgia. So let's get into our locks of the week. This is one of my favorite segments. Cole is 6-6 on the year. I am 7-5 coming into this weekend. So 2 college games and an NFL game. I've got the odds for the NFL games already pulled up for you. Let's go ahead and hit the college ranks. Are we going with any ones that you picked up top, or do you want to go with anything new? Because I've got that pulled up as well. So if you want to go with
Locks of the week. Locks of the week. Locks of the week.
Yeah, this is your 100% confidence picks right here.
I say we got to throw a couple in there so we could maybe tie up in the scoring. I said we throw the Baylor one in there.
Okay, so you're picking.
Didn't you
That was
pick
the Kansas plus 10.
Baylor? I'm pretty confident. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in Baylor here, so I like that game.
Okay, so you're gonna pick Baylor as your lock, but you're gonna pick Kansas to cover for your sportsbook picks. Interesting. Getting both sides from Cole Murphy over here. He's like, I'm covering my bases. One of these is.
I mean, I think they're gonna win. So I mean,
So yeah, Baylor minus.
I definitely think Baylor is gonna win here.
You said they were only going to win by 7, which means Kansas covers. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, you can say they're going to win. But, I mean, as far as the spread's concerned, like, what are we going for here? Um,
Yeah.
so, do you want to still do the Kansas plus 10 because you think they're still going to win, but only by 7? Or are you changing it to Baylor minus 10? And do you want to change your sportsbook pick along with it?
I guess I got to go all in. So I guess my sport
Okay, you're cutting out. What?
and the lock. I definitely think I'm going all in on Baylor. I want to
Okay.
whatever the lock
Okay.
is, I guess.
I'll switch it to Baylor minus 10 on the sportsbook pick. That way you're at least consistent on it.
Okay, perfect.
I am gonna go with my Bama minus 21 as my first lock of the week. For your second, Mr. Murphy, what are we thinking here? Do you want to do a Tennessee minus 30?
I like that Bama one.
You like Bama? Okay, we'll do that. Bama minus 21 is your second as well. We'll both take that one. And then NFL, I'll give you some right now. Tampa Bay minus 13 against Carolina. Have the Dallas Cowboys minus 6.5 against Detroit. You've got the Packers minus 4.5 against the Commanders. And you have the Raiders minus 7 against the Texans. And the Chiefs are minus 2 against the 49ers.
Ooh.
And you have Chargers minus 5 against Seahawks. Miami minus 7 against Pittsburgh. And Cincinnati minus 6.5 against Atlanta. And the Ravens minus 6.5 against the Browns.
If anything, I like the Chargers there. Those are all kind of close.
Okay, so Chargers minus 5 against Seattle.
Yeah, I think they just have a better team.
Okay. Yeah, for my NFL lock, I am going with, drum roll please, we are going with the Green Bay Packers minus 4.5 against Washington. As my NFL pick. And my last college pick, I'm going to go to a game that we didn't even talk about really. I'm going to go off the cuff here. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Ole Miss plus 1.5. I just don't see them losing to LSU, but we'll see. So those are the locks of the week. Look, NBA, we got to touch on it a little bit here. As the season,
I didn't work. Yeah, we got the jersey.
Yeah, the season has come upon us. Cole is wearing his throwback Kevin Garnett black Timberwolves jersey, which is iconic, and we appreciate him for that. So far this season, it's kind of been,
of course,
a little mild. Nothing really crazy. The Lakers off to an 0-2 start. The Thunder lose their first game. They play again, I believe, tonight. The Suns beat the Mavericks on a buzzer beater, 107-105. All these games took place Wednesday night, so two days ago is when this kind of got underway. What were your thoughts going into this? Because the games really started Tuesday. The Warriors beat the Lakers and the Celtics beat the 76ers. And then last night, you had the Bucks beat the 76ers and the Clippers beat the Lakers. So, I mean, so far not a lot of games have been played, but who's your NBA Finals favorites, and who do you got making it from the East and the West? I guess we can do that.
Yeah. It's early. I mean, everybody's still coming from preseason, and everybody's getting some blood flowing out there and shots up. So I mean, it's a little early, but I mean, of course, your Warriors, of course, and then I really like the Celtics again, and maybe Milwaukee. I think coming from the West, definitely the Suns or the Warriors in the East. I like Boston or Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think that this is also, uh,
Maybe the Heat.
yeah. I mean, the East is kind of wide open, right? Which has kind of been
Yeah.
the theme the last couple of years because no one picked Boston to come out of the East last year. They just happened to do it. They could do it again, but yeah, you have Milwaukee over there. You've got Philadelphia. Toronto's not looking bad. The Nets are still a conversation to have. Um, so I mean, as far as me, I mean, look, so you're thinking Warriors and who? I think Warriors out of the West, and who'd you pick out of the
Warriors
East?
Suns maybe.
Well, that would be conference
Um,
finals.
oh yeah, I thought that's what you were talking about. My bad. Yeah, definitely from the West for sure. Warriors, East, Celtics.
Okay, so you think rematch of last year, run it back.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean I like it. I mean it could happen. I mean the Warriors did that with Cleveland and went 1-1. I mean could they go 1-1 and have Boston win it all? You'd have the Warriors winning it all, right? That is that what I'm guessing?
Maybe a little closer than people expect this year. If it does come down to what I'm projecting, I think you might see a game 7 and maybe a historic Jason Tatum moment and
Ooh,
really solidify his career as a
redemption.
Boston Celtic.
Yeah, redemption for Jason
Yeah,
Tatum and his poor performance last season. Maybe come back and have
yeah.
a revenge tour. I kind of like it. So from the West, I'm definitely a lot of people are in love with the Clippers. Um, Kawhi being back, John Wall coming off the bench. Um, you know, Paul
The
George,
Clippers.
Paul George still out there. I mean, I don't, I mean, I'm for sure as hell not picking the Lakers the way that they've started out. But I mean, hey, I mean that thing could turn.
Russell Westbrook.
Woo, that thing could turn around. It could, but right now not looking great. But that game last night between those two teams, Lakers and Clippers, um, on the 20th of October, that kind of both those teams didn't really play well. Both teams shot in the 30 percentile from the floor. It was kind of a ugly game. I mean, the Clippers, still had to pull away in the last minute, even as poor as you know as the Lakers shot from three. They shot 46 threes last night. I think they made 9 of them.
Jeez.
So I mean, but it wasn't that.
Golly.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Horrible.
Yeah, but it wasn't that great on the other side either. Um, John Wall may have had 15 points, but he was 0 for 4 from three. I don't. I just. It just. It was a close game because both these teams really didn't shoot the ball well. Didn't give me a lot of confidence in the Clippers, but a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon to have them in the finals. I just think that I think this season is kind of primed for a team to make a run that hasn't made a run in a long time. And I'm picking Denver. I like the Nuggets coming out of the West with
Ooh.
Jamal Murray coming back, and you
Hey.
have Jokic back. I mean, it's a rough pick, but I think at the end of the season it's going to come down to who's healthy. And I think that right now, Denver has the best shot of staying healthy throughout the season and really giving teams a run for their money. Out of the East, I fuck. The East is so fucked. I mean, it's just nobody's great. I mean, nobody is great. I mean, Milwaukee's good. The Nets are good. The Heat are good. Toronto is good. The Boston Celtics are good. There's a lot of good teams in the East, but there's not one that really has risen above. I mean, Philadelphia, I'll throw them in there too. They're good. Um, right now it's just kind of a crapshoot. I'm kind of feeling it out, but I like the Nets. I like Nuggets Nets 20, yeah,
Yeah.
Nuggets Nets. That's my finals
2022,
pick.
2021.
Yeah, so that's just kind of where we're
Bold
at.
projection.
That's where we're at 3 days into the NBA season. So there's that. Right now, if you want to look and and look at the odds here for NBA, uh, it's 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 looking like a lot of people are rooting for as far as finals champions go. Your favorite right now is tied between Boston, Golden State, and the Clippers. They're all plus 600 right now to win the NBA Finals. Nuggets are plus 1,800. The Nets are plus 700, so they're right there at number 4. If you were going to do conference winners right now, Boston is the favorite out of the East with Brooklyn right behind them. And then Denver is 4th. Best odds in the West behind Phoenix, Golden State, and the Clippers lead as the lead out of the West with Golden State right behind them. So if you were to bet right now, have pretty good odds with Clippers and or with Warriors in Boston, as Boston's the favorite and Golden State's right there at that second spot. Me, I'd have probably this kind of a similar chance. I have Brooklyn, who's sitting there at number 2 in the odds for the East, and Denver at number 4 odds in the East. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're looking right now. Divisionally, you want to go with divisions. Boston leads their division. Clippers lead their division. Denver leads their division. And the Nets, they are second in their division behind the Boston Celtics right now. Golden State is right behind the Clippers in theirs. So definitely good picks for both of us. I think it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. We're only 3 days in, but we're just glad it's back. So we'll definitely bring you more NBA stuff as the season kind of unravels. Week 8's in the books, Cole. Any final thoughts for the episode?
No final thoughts here. Good little pod.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. So we'll get you guys next week. Keep your stick on the ice for Will Warner and Cole Murphy. This has been the S0ner Sports Radio Podcast. Keep your stick on the ice. We'll be back for episode number 9.